Hello everyone and welcome to this special show about the Yemen crisis. The program today includes a reminder about the origins of the conflict as well as some explanations of some researchers. We will also have a focus about youth and some lighter topics, Emily.
Yes, hi Lena. In this time of darkness, some young Yemeni try to preserve their cultural heritage far away from home. Police had the chance to talk with them. But let's start with the political context. In December, a new government had been established, a new step in a country at heart of multiple divisions and a 6 years conflict stuck in a rut. Jordan Dutreux.
For the past 6 years, Yemen has been torn by a conflict. In 2011, former President Saleh left the office due to international pressure and demonstration in the country. Its deputy, Hadi, replaced him. The authority of the Hadi government is contested by the Houthis, who belong to the Shia minority of the country. Historically, they are from the north, from the region of Sada, but at the beginning of 2015, the Houthis started to expand their control and gain strategic places such as Sana'a, the capital city, and the harbor of Hodeidah. In 2020, the Houthis control the west of the country. Abroad, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Kuwait support the Hadi's regime, while Iran support the Houthis. The territory is also disputed by the terrorist groups Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and the Islamic State. In 2019, the Southern Transitional Council, who made secession 2 years before, and the government signed an agreement backed by Saudi Arabia. The process was hampered with violent fights between the two parties. Finally, the new government was composed last December.
With all the problems that this government has, first of all, the fact that there are no women represented, the fact that, of course, it's a collection of, it's more of a collection, a patchwork of factions than a united government. But it was seen in Yemen as a step towards somehow peace, or at least as a united front against the Houthis, something that Yemen hasn't seen in years.
If it's a first step, there's still a long way to go to have a peace agreement between the new government and the Houthis rebels, according to Andrea Carboni.
They still believe they can make progress. Or if you are looking from a more cynical perspective, that they can still benefit from the ongoing war economy, and that pertains particularly to the elites that are running the country in both the north and the south.
The outcome of the conflict is unlikely to come from the international community.
It really depends on whether, this renewed entente between the parties in the Gulf Cooperation Council, so including Qatar, could extend to Iran potentially. So that would be somehow a game changer. But at the moment, with elections, I think, in Iran next year, it'll be very difficult for any Iranian candidate or the outgoing president make any concessions.
In its last report in December 2020, the UNDP estimates that 100,000 people died because of violence. 100,000 more people died of conflict-related causes.
The first victims of this conflict are the newborn generation. Many NGOs such as UNICEF have warned about the risk of a lost generation. Among the list, starvation, a growing issue, Sévan Ozebian-Vartagnan.
The figures are appalling. 325,000 children less than 5 years old suffer from severe malnutrition in Yemen, according to UNICEF. For the NGO, more than 98,000 of them are in great danger of death if they are not helped immediately. In the country, 12 million children need humanitarian aid to survive. The UN talks about a lost generation. The year 2020 has really been chaotic for Yemen, with the rise of violence, the economic decline, and of course the struggle against COVID-19. In some regions of Yemen, there has been an increase of 10% in just 1 year of the number of malnourished children. Even if Yemen was not a developed country before the start of the war, the conflict worsened the situation and the famine. According to Disclose, thanks to figures given by the Yemen Data Project, 30% of the air raids by the coalition led by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates aimed at civil objectives, including agricultural production and food supplies. Farms, markets, fishing boats, and water reservoirs were bombed, worsening the hunger crisis. Even a UNICEF project whose goal was to offer access to drinking water was bombed 3 times by the coalition. In 2019, 16 million of the Yemeni people didn't have access to drinking water, which caused a terrible cholera epidemic in the western parts of the country. It is not only the air raids that have worsened the famine. The maritime blockade launched by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have slowed down the importation of humanitarian food aid.
Thank you, Seven, for this reminder. Teenagers and young adults are also very impacted by the conflict in a country where 75% of the population is under 25 years old. We are receiving Maysaa Shuja Al-Deen, a Yemeni non-fellow resident at Sana's Center for Strategic Studies, who now live in Bahrain, to talk about young people in Yemen. Maysaa Shuja Al-Deen, do you think the war impact them in a particular way?
This generation, I think they are growing up with this war, and they are hearing the strikes, or shelling or whatever. So I think they will be maybe more radical. I'm not sure, which is very dangerous for the future of this country. And definitely, I'm very worried about the situation of the education in Yemen. Many schools are shut down now because they were destroyed. The teachers, especially in the north, they don't have salaries. They didn't take their salaries monthly, regularly, like they were before. And now there is a change of curriculum in the north. So this change is because the Houthis, they want to spread their ideology, and it's part of it is very sectarian one. So I'm very worried about this generation, actually. And also about the teenager or the young people. Now they are graduated from the university, and the job opportunities are not a lot like they were. Yeah, I mean, it's much, much less. And some of them, they went to fight because maybe sometimes it's the only opportunity to get money. Yeah, it's very bad idea.
You mean they don't have any hope for a way out?
They are losing their future, and they don't have a lot of opportunities in front of them. There is no money, no jobs, no good education. They can't go out of Yemen. They can't even move inside Yemen easily. Everything is just difficult. So I think this, you can imagine the youth always have big dreams. And we are talking about, or even small dreams, they can't dream of it.
How different are the repercussions for the girls and young women?
For example, in any family now, if they want to sacrifice who will not go to school because the schools is becoming very expensive for us, they will say, okay, the girls should stay at home. So it's better for boys because they have to invest in the boys more, because the boys, they have to work when they grow up and to be financially responsible for their families. For example, and Yemen was, the women actually, their opportunities to earn education was very few, even before the war. So this means that also the families, they want to, for example, to accept the early marriage for the women, for their girls, because this means that they will not feed another one in this family.
Thank you, Maysaa Shuja Al-Deen. The living conditions are worsening as the conflict gets bogged down. Perhaps the best solution might be the exile for the Yemeni youth, but the geographic location and shape reduce the possibilities. Most of the people live in the center of the country, and the way through the borders or the airport is too long or too dangerous. So people trying to leave take the risk of being kidnapped or killed.
The other issue that Yemeni people are facing is the difficulty of getting a visa in other countries. They often see their applications being refused. Therefore, it makes it very hard to immigrate to flee the conflict. Some, like Ibrahim, have faced different issues. Pauline Sonnet met him.
quand j'appelle mes amis ou mes contacts là-bas, est-ce qu'il y a un moyen de sortir là? Est-ce que tu peux nous faire sortir de là parce qu'on ne peut plus? Je m'appelle Ibrahim. Je suis yéménite. Je suis ici depuis 7 ans. Je suis arrivé fin 2014 en tant qu'assistant de langue arabe. Mon contrat c'était un CDD. Quand il a pris fin, je prépare retourner au Yémen. À chaque fois, j'ai des vacances ici. Je me dis, je veux partir et je fixe et je prends les billets même. Et il arrive des moments, vraiment, il y a des zones de guerre, de conflit. Alors tu ne peux pas traverser. Ça m'arrive ça fait 3 fois. Ça veut dire si tu vas choisir d'aller là-bas, tu dois accepter les conséquences. Être prisonnier quelques mois avec ce parti-là ou avec un autre parti, tu ne peux pas être neutre là-bas, soit avec nous, soit contre. Je suis fiancé du Yémen et ça fait 7 ans que je suis parvenu. Et ma fiancée m'attend là-bas, toujours. Ils sont tous au Yémen, réunis dans la même ville, il n'y a que moi qui suis étranger. Et les enfants, les filles et les fils de mes soeurs, de mes frères et de mes sœurs, ils sont déjà grandis, ils sont vraiment, vraiment grandis. Et quand je vois leurs photos maintenant, je ne reconnais plus. Ouais, ça fait 7 ans. Je leur manque beaucoup et moi pareil. Oui, ils me racontent des choses, ils me cachent beaucoup de choses. Des fois, c'est mes sœurs, mes cibles en fait, pour pouvoir attaquer et avoir mes informations. Des fois, j'entends des nouvelles de loi, des choses, et après, ils me racontent plus tard qu'on ne voulait pas t'embêter. Eux, ils n'ont pas le choix, ils ne peuvent pas sortir. Moi, je peux rentrer avec difficulté et je ne sais pas comment je vais ressortir, mais eux, ils n'ont pas le choix.
Just like Ibrahim, many young Yemenis are now living abroad. This is the case of Walid, who's been living in the Netherlands for a year. With a group of friends, he launched Yemen Used to Be. From their exile, they tried to promote their country's culture that has been jeopardized by the war. Pauline Sonnet.
History, traditions, food, music. 16 young artists worked together to show what Yemen used to be before the war. Through articles, videos, animated drawings and exhibitions, they show another image of their country.
When you leave Yemen, it's like you start to understand how much do the world know about your country. Because they either don't, or they know the conflict, and you rarely find someone who knows something about it in you. It's very hard not to, like people not to recognize what's happening there, and this is annoying. So it's good if they know. But still, this is not the only image out of that. So it's very difficult also for you to promote something about Yemen. This is like the first thing people know about this country.
Their goal is simple: educate foreigners to know Yemen beyond stereotypes, but also remind the diversity of their own culture to Yemeni people.
Yeah, still for Yemenis themselves watching the content, it's a good way to also introduce them to their history, because it's also like we're not being educated about our history, even like especially like the last 50 years history, because it's so mixed up.
One story at a time, Yemen Used to Be tried to collect what is threatened by the war: architectures, instruments, or even memories.
Everything is just in danger, and I think like the only thing that can save that as a good beginning is to make like a database to like how would they say that? Yeah, to document everything. Start to document as much as possible, organize, and then this should be like an open resource for everybody.
For those young expatriates, collecting this intangible heritage is their way to help their country.
Because you feel like you're more responsible because you're like the lucky one. The safety of people is just way more important. But still, well, this is also important. This is also related to the, let's say, the mental health of the people. I can't pretend that I can't solve the whole humanitarian crisis in Yemen, right? Yeah, but I still can't do this. Let's just do it.
From a French point of view, the war was barely covered until the TV show Envoyé Spécial broadcasted a report on February 2018.
A documentary filmed by the Yemeni children. The conflict was also highlighted after the online media revealed the role of the French industry in the war.
The journalism NGO revealed on April the 15th, 2019, a classified document of the Yemen war that has been consulted on October the 3rd, 2018 by the French President, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs during a private defense council. This 15 pages document details all the French weapons sold to Saudi Arabia and to the United Arab Emirates, weapons that have killed civil population in the war that has taken place in Yemen since 2014.
How are these weapons used in Yemen?
First, they are used on the ground. 58 French-produced trucks, Caesar, equipped with an artillery system, are parked in Saudi Arabia right next to the northern border of Yemen. These trucks help the loyalist armed force in their progression in the Yemeni territory. There are also 70 French Leclerc tanks positioned on the west coast of Yemen. According to disclosure, they were involved in the Battle of Hodeida, which killed 55 civilians.
There are also weapons that are used from the sea.
Indeed, a French frigate sold to Saudi Arabia bombs the west coast of Yemen. Another French frigate participates in the naval blockade.
Are there French weapons used in the air?
Yes, French supplies what is called Pad Damocles, a French missile guidance system used on the American airplanes sold to Saudi Arabia. French airplanes, the Mirage 2000-9, sold to the Emirates, also operate in Yemen.
What are French officials saying about these revelations?
The Minister of Defense, Florence Parly, explained that French weapons are used in a defensive way. She said, "To my knowledge, these weapons are not used in an offensive way in this war in Yemen." She then added, "I don't have elements of proof allowing me to say that French weapons caused civilians casualties." A statement that disclosed investigations seems to contradict. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jean-Yves Le Drian, stated that Saudi Arabia operates mainly by the air and that France is not selling air weapons. Economical stakes seem to outshine human rights issues, as Saudi Arabia is the main buyer of French weapons. France is also selling weapons to Saudi Arabia nowadays, when countries like the United Kingdom have decided to stop.
Thank you, Sévan Ozemian-Vartagnan. This is the end of our special TV show about the Yemen conflict. Thank you to all of our journalists, Pauline Senet, Jordan Dutrieux, Sévan Ozemian-Vartagnan, and also to our experts and interviewees.
Thank you to all of you for watching us, and have a nice day.